Welcome back to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. Last segment, we were joined by Wisconsin State Senator Lena Taylor, and we'll now turn the page and meet Berta Barillas. She's a public school teacher and a member of Voces De La Frontera, an organization that serves as a voice for the voiceless, as well as a champion of immigrant rights and other social justice issues. How are you, Berta?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for being here. Let's start off, for those who don't know, finding out a little bit more about Voces De La Frontera and what it is that they do on a daily basis.
Sure. Voces de la Frontera is an advocacy organization for immigrants, workers, students, and we are at the forefront of organizing events that call attention to some of the issues that are affecting those particular groups.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned during the last segment that Wisconsin's primary election is literally days away. So Voces de la Frontera works hard to increase voter registration and turnout in key target areas like Milwaukee and Racine. How do you go about doing that?
Well, one of the major things that we're doing is canvassing. We have gone out to the community, we're knocking door to door, we're talking to neighbors, we're talking to families to make sure that they are either registered, and if not, we're giving them information as to how to become registered. There's a lot of phone banking taking place, and so we are getting out the vote. We want to make sure that people turn out on August 14th.
Absolutely, and it's no secret, Voices fought tooth and nail against former Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark and his beliefs on immigration. He had applied for his deputies to become ICE agents to enforce immigration laws, and he fought notions of Milwaukee as a sanctuary county. So with that said, your organization is probably paying very close attention to this race for Milwaukee County Sheriff, right?
Definitely, because since 2010, the person that has been taking the position as sheriff has actually handed over undocumented immigrants to ICE. And so we want to make sure that we have a hand in stopping that. The candidate that we believe will not collaborate with the Trump administration in handing families over to ICE is the person that we want to endorse. Okay. And so Ernell Lucas, we feel, is the candidate that will commit to keeping families safe and together.
Okay, and so since 2012, the DACA program has allowed 800,000 undocumented immigrant children to work and study in the U.S. So right now, you've got a situation of a federal judge in Texas set to hear arguments on whether he should end the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program. This is a case that could tee up on a fast track of going to the Supreme Court as soon as the fall. So what are your thoughts, and bring us up to date on the situation with DACA?
Sure. So DACA was an executive order by President Obama in the fact that many students were either not able to be employed or were not able to seek a higher education. And so the program was instituted and a lot of students took advantage of it. Well, when Trump became president, that was one of the first things that he wanted to make sure. He pretty much set an expiration date for it. And so students would no longer be able to renew their applications. And so then they become almost part of like, they start living in fear. They start living in the shadows of, okay, they start believing that deportation is actually closer to their door than what they felt before. And so a lot of times they're not able to continue with school, and they don't have the proper documentation to be employed, and so their families are put into jeopardy. So right now the judge has said that he believes that it was illegal the way that Trump had tried to end the DACA program, and so that's where I believe it was just a few days ago.
Absolutely,
right.
Yeah. This is like where we are at this moment. So
Yes.
it's really still a situation of wait and see. So I mentioned early on that you are a school teacher.
Yes.
And a lot of what's going on, especially surrounding immigration and all of these things, affects a lot of the children that you see on a daily basis. Talk about that and how that could, in fact, be a distraction for a child in a classroom.
It definitely is. Many of the children, I would probably say the majority of the children who have undocumented status it wasn't a choice of their own to come over. Yet they're making the best of the opportunities that this country has given them. So they take education very seriously. They know that it's an avenue for them to progress in society, to better their life, and to also help their families. And so for a lot of them, they know that pretty much that's the only way that they will be able to succeed, is if they're able to graduate and then hopefully go on to get a college degree. So many students that I work with are in that status. And so we've noticed a very drastic change in their academics. Once this was happening, a lot of students became, like I said before, fearful, but they also they started to not take education seriously anymore, because they had this idea that, well, what for? Yeah. What am I working so hard for? What am I going to strive for if this is going to be taken away from me? Who knows, at any moment. And so what we started to notice is that many students started to almost be affected by PTSD. You could tell that they were more stressed. They were a little bit more saddened. They didn't do their assignments as much. And so students that I personally talked to, they disclosed to me, they were comfortable telling me. And for the most part, I know their status. And they told me, well, I just don't know anymore. I don't know if it's worth it. I don't know what's going to happen to me. Why should I put so much time into this if next month I'm no longer going to be here?
Wow. That's a sad situation, just even hearing that. And I think a lot of times when people get so caught up in the politics of it all, they forget these are real people who are affected every single day. So thank you for sharing that. And the situation where children were actually separated from their families who illegally crossed the border, to see those children being kept away from their parents, some of them just babies, right. And then being in what looked like they were cages. Give me your personal thoughts when you witnessed that.
Well, I think we all witnessed it, right? I think we all saw the news and we all heard the audio of some of the children crying in desperation. Yeah. I think that was probably one of the most unjust actions that have taken place recently, because the children, again, of no choice of their own, their families are coming to look for better opportunities. They're coming for a better life. They're coming here to work, right? They're not coming here to do anything else. And so because of that notion, their punishment is to take away their children. And it's almost as if, well, that 5-month-old, that 2-year-old has nothing to do with the politics of what's taking place. And so I think it was very, very obvious. It was very transparent in that the administration was sending a message. This was the punishment for parents, to almost say, if more of you are thinking of coming over,
this is what's going to happen.
This is what's going to happen.
Wow. The thing is there are still children who have not been reunited with their families. And when we talk about trauma and how it affects children right here in our city, we can only imagine the type of trauma those children are going through and will continue to go through just from the separation of their parents. And the same for, the adults in the situation, even though they, crossed illegally, so to speak. Like you said, many of them were just looking for a better life for themselves and their children. So this is another scenario that we'll keep our eye on for sure. But I wanted the viewers at home to know that Voces De La Frontera also works to address the needs of immigrant and low-wage workers by taking up issues of exploitation and abuse, because a lot of times when people come to the country, they will be offered lower wages and things of that nature, specifically if they are not documented. So you guys take a lot of time in making sure they have some representation and somewhere to turn to really talk about things that are important and get some support on the development of leadership skills.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Many times when immigrants cross over, they take what people would consider the service jobs, menial jobs, sometimes they'll call them, and their pay is very low. And so as that's taking place, I think it's also bringing attention to what's happening. There's a history of how people have been exploited in this country when it comes to labor, when it comes to work. And so one of the things that Voces de la Frontera Action wants to make sure that we do is to bring light to that. And I think that's connected. You know, immigration is a big topic right now.
Absolutely.
And it's definitely connected to the elections because all of these issues are tied, they're intertwined, and so we want to make sure that people are educated. And so when, you know, a lot of times some people only vote for presidential elections.
Right.
And we want to make sure that they understand all other elections are important as well. They take place during different times of the year, and it's important for them to go out and vote because all of these things are going to be affecting them.
They go hand in hand.
They
Yes, they
definitely
do.
do.
Thank you so much for coming by. I wanted to quickly mention that your annual gala fundraiser is coming up on September 28th at the Harley-Davidson Museum, and people can go to your website at vdlf.org to get more details on that.
Yes, or if they have any questions, we obviously provide services in English and in Spanish. So if they have questions about registering to vote, what they need to bring with them, it's really easy. It's a photo ID with proof of residence. So they can call us as well. The phone number is 414-643-1620.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time in coming here today, and all the best to
Sure.
you.
Thank you.
Berta Barillas is a public school teacher and a member of Voces De La Frontera. For more information on the organization, again, you can visit their website at vdlf.org or call 643-1620. That is going to do it for today's show. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. As always, thank you for watching, and I hope you join us again next week as we take another look at our issues in Milwaukee. Have a great day.